Yo, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. How you doing? It's your boy JB back again on the African Fighters podcast. I know you saw somebody first before you saw me, but that is production issues. Yes, as the humble producer that I am, I still suck at this gig. Before we start, there's quite a few things to jump into. Not very eventful week per se, but we'll always find our way to have an exciting conversation. But before I do, ladies and gentlemen, the yin to my yang, yeah, the crayfish to my ogbono, ladies and gentlemen, it is none other than King Dems. What's
Whoa,
up,
whoa, whoa,
Demola? How
whoa,
you
whoa.
doing, man?
I'm good, I'm good, I'm
Demola,
good. I can't
as you
complain.
can see, Demola sitting nice with a wide angle camera. We are launching his new webcam.
Oh, wow.
This
Wow.
guy,
We're launching this. We're launching this. Launching
this guy is
ever
making me look like an amateur right now, but it's okay. Boom, here we are.
wide
It's
angles, man.
okay. It's okay. I will step up my game as well. Oh, but well, I've got a backdrop, a nice backdrop, a beautiful WWE title just behind
WWE.
me. Yeah. So Demola, if he vex you, make you buy your own belt. Uh,
I'm gonna buy the UFC belt.
all right then. All right. All right. Um. Yeah. Today, 28th of April 2024, this is the African Fighters podcast, and we are going to be discussing about a few things. Last night, our boy from Uganda, David Onama, defeated JSP via unanimous decision. We are going to jump into that and find some talking points in there. We're going to
And
talk
guess
a
what
little bit
killed me?
about,
So
yeah?
we are starting quite late. Somebody just texted me and said, "Are you guys not going live again?"
Ah, Man, this episode was almost a gone story. You understand? We probably wouldn't have streamed today, but as they say in pro wrestling, the show must go on. Yeah. So speaking about David Onama, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Israel Adesanya possibly injured when he fought Sean Strickland and what that means to how we assess that fight right now with this new nugget of information. We'll talk about Kamaru Usman, yeah, about Kamaru Usman and looking back at his journey as a champion, what he made us feel. You understand? We'll delve a little bit into UFC Africa and a few talking points. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I
It's
can
my
hear
doorbell.
you.
It's my doorbell ringing, and I'm sat here, and I'm not gonna get it off. Hopefully, somebody in the house gets it. It's takeaway. It's some pizza that came in. Um,
Share
yeah.
the love.
Before we get into it, King Dems, how you doing, my brother? You alright? How is the
Uh,
weekend going?
I can't complain, my brother. My brother.
Uh, but like 30 minutes ago, you were complaining to me. No problem. No problem. No problem. No problem. No problem. We'll get into it.
Oh,
All right. Before any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say something, and it is yes, it is time indeed. Thank you very much, my brother Bruce Buffer. Bruce Buffer. Thank you for that sound beat. He sent it to
I,
me
I
all the
hope
way from Las Vegas.
I hope he doesn't have copyright issues. Oh, wow. Interesting. I think we are having technical issues right now. We'll be back shortly. Let's get this resolved.
Yo,
We're
Dems, can
back
you hear
from.
me?
I can hear you. We were having technical difficulties.
All right, people. Apologies about this. This is very, very unprofessional, I get. But my village people are after me this week. Welcome to amateur hours, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my god. Oh my god, this is crazy, man. Oh gosh, and now the video is lagging because I'm already sat and it's saying I'm not sitting. So
If you play There
it's
Is God,
ah. Yeah, so there is God.
There is God. Oh.
All right. I think I'm just going to switch this stupid camera. Hmm. All right. I think this is one of those cases where we will probably continue this podcast without my face because of the things that are going on in the background. Yes, welcome to Amateur Hours, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies about that. Um, yes, as we were saying, where were we? David Onama. All right. David Onama
our African brother.
fought defeated Jonathan Pierce JSP last night via unanimous decision UFC fight night. This was the card that was supposed to have, I believe, Manel Cap and uh was it Nicolau that he was meant to
Nicolau.
fight?
Yeah, Nicolau. He was
Yeah,
modified.
yeah, yeah, and then Onama obviously dropped out because he was injured. Um yeah, so it was an interesting fight. I've got a few talking points. I took some notes. First of all, what made me smile was that David Onama came out to Mobad's song Peace. And you know how that song goes. Waiting be this one like this. Been too many things.
Many
Many,
things.
many gist. Imole. All right, I know that Demola, you appreciate this song more than I do because I don't understand a lot of
Definitely.
things that they are saying. But yeah, and I could see Onama was lip syncing it the whole time. He had his boy, African brother from Factory X from Morocco, Yusuf Zalal, out there with him. And if you can remember, when Yusuf Zalal fought last month, David Onama was in his corner as well. So we did see that, which is a beautiful thing to see. Shout out to the African boys that are Factory X. They are really, really sharpening their tools, and it looks is translating in the victories they've been getting recently. Um, Onama was trying to prove a point that he can wrestle, and if you can hear him from the post-fight interview, he did mention that a lot of people say I cannot wrestle. And what did you see? Or you
Definitely.
get my point. So
He put up a clinic.
yeah. I've been rambling here, trying to put things in order. Obviously, things are not looking very good for me today. Uh, what did you think? Any thoughts? Any thoughts from that fight?
uh, Many thoughts from the fight. But then let's give a few. Fantastic, workout. You could say that I'm biased, right, because of the Mobad significance, but really, it's a beautiful song. Aside from being an MMA enthusiast, I'm also a music enthusiast. That song is an A-list song. So, um, it's nice to have a beautiful entrance and then a beautiful performance as well. So people have been saying his wrestling doesn't hold up, right? But then he was able to show us. Look at the transitions. It was a unanimous decision, right? 29-28. So you saw how JSP was always chasing the takedowns, right? But then he's not afraid. Onama wasn't afraid to go down, and then he transitions and comes back on top, right?
Yeah, so
It
a lot of
was
people about that, a lot of people would say that the transitions that Onama was doing when it comes to the grappling was not very technical. It was more about burst, like short bursts of power,
brother,
like a power dump,
brother.
energy dump, like he turns into we saw it multiple times where JSP would get his back and put a triangle in there from the back, like
Mhm.
triangle on the body, and Onama would turn and then have top position in guard. We saw that many times, but that happens when there's a bit of a burst of energy and then you jump into a position. Um, but
Had this for
regardless,
people.
I
who
understand.
cannot
I
fight?
understand it takes. Yeah, I understand it takes techniques. But what I'm saying is, from if as a fight fan, what we did not
Mhm.
see is like those fundamentals from grappling, from maybe when you are mounted, you try to get side, you try to get one leg, and then you try to get the opponent to be in full what's it called, guard. You try to put him in your guard, and then you try to like put your leg over, and then try to get up, those little things that the commentators always talk about, and all those little things that all these fight nerds talk about. We were not
Mhm.
seeing those conventional ones, but we were seeing like raw power switching of position by Onama.
Yeah,
Uh,
but then aside from that, you could see what he was doing all night long, right? He was utilizing that shake off that you have when somebody is mounted on your back, right? But then you elevate your hips and then shake them off your body. It
mhm,
is quite technical, right? That is if you have been involved in grappling before, because it's quite easy for the person to secure the rear naked choke from the back, right? However, if you
mhm,
shake them off using that angle of elevation off your hips and then putting your head towards the ground,
mhm.
if you did that to a Charles Oliveira, for example, you can
Mhm.
be saying good night. So it is actually very painful to me if somebody is saying that was not a
Well,
technical
well, well,
move.
well. To cap things off, I understand we're in 16 minutes, but I think 10 minutes out of that was us not really doing anything, trying to figure out how this stream is going to work. But on paper, it was a bad matchup for him stylistically going against JSP, who is a
Definitely,
renowned wrestler. He
definitely,
likes to
yes.
drag people into the deep water spot. Onama came in there prepared to wrestle. Something I noticed in the first
And
round was
always
when they were
taking top
striking.
control, top position, always getting back to top control. Come on,
Yeah,
that's a good mix of wrestling and jiu-jitsu.
yeah. So I saw Onama in the early rounds. He was always having his knee high because you could see that he's trying to teleport that knee into the head when JSP shoots for a takedown, but that didn't happen. But he got him in the gut a couple of times with the knee. Um, Great game plan by Onama's team. He showed he wasn't scared to wrestle, but Jonathan was very relentless. We saw when they stood to strike, Onama was way quicker than him, way sharper. That jab was landing consistently. The amount of times that Onama would hit JSP and his head would snap back was countless. And that was what happened in the third round. The third round was kill or be killed, and Onama took it, stuffed a lot of takedowns, was much sharper with the striking. And then the last 10 seconds, they tried to replicate
The
the
Max Holloway
UFC
effect.
300 main event of Gaethje and
Max
Max
Holloway
Holloway.
effect.
It was great. I don't think I've enjoyed a fight that had so much grappling like that before, because he had a little bit of everything. Like the fight was swinging both ways, and then we got to the third round, and then we don't know who's going to win. And obviously, Onama unanimously took that third round because it was a 28-27, 29-28 unanimous victory.
29-28.
um, was really exciting. I actually had got to catch up with the fight in the morning because I was asleep obviously last night. But they fought in the main card of that card, that Apex card, and this is something. Onama now has joined Temba Gorimbo as the African-born with the most current on the winning streak right now, because they are currently on 2 win streaks uh, across the board, like when it comes to African fighters in the UFC, apart from obviously Dricos, the champion. Um, Onama now 2 wins in the last two. Temba Gorimbo 2 wins in the last two. Temba is fighting in a couple of weeks, and he would,
You
I'm
get a
sure,
hat
would
trick.
want to get it to three, as he has already crowned himself the king of the apex. Super pumped to see Temba get back in there in a couple of weeks, and yeah, you got any final thoughts about this fight?
So basically, final thoughts is that was a game of mixed martial arts. Yeah, mix everything, mix the striking, the wrestling, the grappling, and we got what we pay for as the fans.
Yeah, shout out to Yusuf Zalal. He was in there cheering your boy. Um, Now I just have a question about UFC Africa. Yeah, UFC Africa, which again we've been promised again, but however, from some reliable sources, we've heard that it might likely not be in South Africa. I don't know why. And it is confirmed that it would be a fight night and not a pay per view. So we can cancel Israel versus Dricus happening in Africa. But
Keep
now,
feeling
if
like it's
Israel,
like he's teasing you.
but now if Dricus and Easy are not going to be on that card, who
Then
should
who?
main event UFC Africa? Are you interested in seeing something crazy like maybe a Kamaru Usman versus a Shavkat in the main event? A Kamaru Usman versus maybe that is in welterweight, maybe a Kamaru Usman versus Sean Strickland in middleweight
Sean
as the
Strickland is already
main
fighting
event.
Paulo Costa.
Of course, UFC Africa is going to happen after that. I think Sean Strickland is one of those fighters that can actually survive by taking an L, even if he loses he doesn't really bring down his stock like that because the fans love him like that. He's got so many losses already. So
Gus already has on his record already.
even if Sean Strickland loses now against Costa, his people would be more interested in seeing Usman versus Sean Strickland than whatever Costa we do, except if Costa fights
Mm,
Chimaev, of course.
mm.
But but
That.
but that's going to be a crazy fight. I feel like that has like main event rating all over it. I know Usman would want to fight on a pay per view, but something as prestigious as UFC Africa never happened before, and then they put Usman and Strickland on the main event, or maybe Usman and Shavkat in the main event. Shavkat having his first ever main event in his career, and we know Usman is a 5 round fighter. I feel like that's really, really solid. If that is not
A big
if
one.
that is not in the cards for us, I think Temba, if Temba comes out in the next couple of weeks when he fights and like gets like a viral knockout or something like that, which I think he's very capable of doing, I feel like he would be a perfect fit for a main event. His story is incredible from Zimbabwe, from the diamond mines in Zimbabwe to
Zimbabwean brother.
South Africa to the Middle East to the US, meeting Dwayne The Rock Johnson, 7 box story, and then now being an American resident, and then now main eventing a UFC fight night, a UFC event in Africa. It's gonna be like the comeback of the king. I feel like Temba has already said he doesn't want to fight in South Africa, but I feel like poetically it would make sense if it's in South Africa because it's going to be like the culmination of a perfect story for him. I think that's another thing something that the UFC can sell as well. It'd be incredible to see him there. If
Exactly,
you
exactly.
see, and here's something. Here's something.
And I like to see David Onama on that card as well.
Oh yeah. David Onama definitely on the main card. If David Onama fights twice or something, gets a ranking to his name, he is definitely a contender for a main event in UFC Africa. But
But you know
here's
something
something
interesting
interesting.
as well?
I'm just going to say this one thing. I'm sorry, I've been rambling.
Okay. No problem.
Temba Gorimbo
Okay.
versus his teammate or former teammate or whatever it is, Kobe Covington. Right?
Whoa.
Kobe
Okay.
Covington is going to sell. It's not a pay per view. I understand there's nothing to sell, but he's going to sell the heck out of it if the American boy goes to Africa and does what he did when he went to Brazil the last time. I
You
think
will say more
go-
African than
that's
Themba.
yeah, that's going to be the perfect story. The American MAGA guy in Kobe Covington coming to Africa, and you know Kobe, he's not ashamed to call out Temba to say, "Oh, you went crying to Dwayne The Rock Johnson." Dwayne The Rock Johnson is not obviously in the same political space with Kobe, so obviously Kobe has issues with him. He's going to run insults on, and then here's what's going to happen. Because of Temba's association to Dwayne The Rock Johnson will help promote that fight as well because Kobe is taking shots at him. Because
Mhm.
in the end, in the
Kobe's
end, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is a big shareholder or a big executive of TKO, which is the parent company of the UFC. So if he does that, it's not like he's doing promo for free. He's doing promo because he works with the businesses. At the end of the day, he's their boss. So I feel that is a perfect story. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but yeah, go ahead. Sorry. You were trying to talk like two,
But,
three
but, but
times and I stopped you. Sorry.
another interesting twist to this situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen the roster for the Ultimate Fighter. There are two South Africans on
Yeah,
the roster.
yeah. There is this Dracos teammate who is in who was a welterweight in EFC, and now he jumped into the middleweight in the Ultimate Fighter. His name is Mark Home or Mark Home,
Yeah, there's
however
Mahoney,
you want
and
to
then
pronounce it.
there's another South African boy. So
Yeah.
the interesting thing is that from the dynamics, it looks like the UFC have plans to, would I say, recruit some African, fighters this year,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
we are likely to see a lot of the homegrown talent because apparently that's what they usually do. That's what they typically do if they're going
Mm-hmm.
to a new territory. They bring in, the guys from that territory to fight in that territory, just like what they did when they were doing Ultimate
Mm-hmm.
Fighter Latin America,
Mm-hmm.
Mexico as well, right? So I think we're likely to see a situation in which you have a lot of guys moving from the EFC, that's in South Africa, to fight in UFC Africa. But it might not happen this year, but most likely should happen by next year.
Yeah, I think we've spoken about this. There is it's not as easy for our African boys or African brothers to get visas to go to America to fight. So UFC coming to Africa becomes an avenue where they could easily sign some fighters. And for you as a fighter to have already fought for UFC in Africa, you could easily that would help your chances in speeding the process of you getting a visa when they eventually call you to come to the US. So
You
that's
actually
another
have
angle to look
like
at it.
Igor Cabeza.
Eh?
Igor Cabeza.
Oh yeah, Eagle's case, man, it's a long one. We'll probably need to talk about it in a different podcast. All right, let's talk about your boy. As the president of Israel Adesanya fan club,
Whoa,
I
whoa,
remember
whoa, whoa.
when we were when
My
we were
boy has
doing
been
the.
seeing a lot of hate on the internet lately, and it's fine, it's fine. Why hate when you
Mhm.
can collaborate?
That's,
Haters
that's a
will
good
always
one.
hate.
So when we did the review of Israel Adesanya's loss of his title to Sean Strickland last year, we were talking about something not being right with Easy. He might be battling something.
I
And
said it, and I
he
knew it.
recently, maybe a couple of weeks ago, I saw this a long time ago in his interview with Ariel Hawan in MMA Hours a couple of weeks ago. And he mentioned that he wasn't fully 100%. He was sick. Obviously, fighters are not always 100%, but for him to say that means that there's something clearly going on. And he did mention in the open workout he struggled to do some push-ups there, and a few people, obviously the fans found the clip and they put it online, and you could see clearly that he struggled to do just two push-ups in the open workouts for that event, which happened in Australia, I believe. Um, do you think that if not Easy obviously doesn't want to make excuses. He said Strickland was a better man. But do you think that if not because of that case, that if he was 100%, do you feel like Sean Strickland would have beaten him?
I see. I always say this, right? That fight looked, felt like a nightmare. Felt like a bad dream, right? It was very clear that Easy was not himself, right? And he wasn't even at 80%. And trust me, an Easy that is at 80% is better than a Sean Strickland at 100%. No disrespect to Sean Strickland, One of these days I might have him on my podcast. So no disrespect to him. But I always ride, Easy's my ride or die. Skill for skill, Easy is a better striker. We know that. But it was very clear, and especially, in round one, it became so obvious that this was not Easy that we know. Easy that is quite clinical and everything. But big ups to him, right? He did not want to let the UFC down, and he has been in fights that he wasn't 100% and he still went his way. So he thought he could actually scale through, manage with that one, but it was not his night. And I like his sportsmanship. It was Strickland's night. The rest is history.
Yeah, yeah, Omo, what thing I want now, be say, when Easy mentioned he was going to go heal up, rest, take some time off because he's been fighting back to back.
Mhm.
I want I want 100% Easy going 100% against Checkers. This is a very tricky fight. Um,
I have zero
obviously,
doubt in my mind. I have zero,
o-
zero doubt
obviously,
in
we are
my mind.
Nigerians. We are Nigerians
It's
on
not
an
just about
African
being
fighters.
Nigerian. Don't worry.
Wait, wait,
Don't
wait.
worry.
We are
I'm not.
Nigerians on an. I just want to put this disclaimer out there. We are Nigerians on an African fighters podcast, right? So
Mhm.
we cheer all Africans and root all Africans, but obviously, Easy is our own. You understand? When you break the layers of where we come from, Easy is our own. If you further break the layer, I'm just Nigerian. Demola here is not just Nigerian; he's also a Yoruba boy, like Easy is. So, so obviously, we even if we don't intend, there will be a bias in there.
I'll be some
And
of
I'm
my
sure
Yoruba brother, right?
if you are South African and you are watching this, I hope you understand that when we say that we would love Easy to beat Drinkers, okay, we are not hating, but as MMA fight fans or UFC fight fans or casual fight fans that we are, our memory is almost like a fish. We only react to what we see recently. It's more like show me what you got right now, and then I'll make my emotional reaction about you. And we understand that the bookmakers might favor or will certainly favor Drakers when he fights Easy
Not
because of
necessarily.
Drakers' recent performance and Easy's recent performance. Mm. My brother, all this explanation that I'm doing, I just want to say that I would love to see Easy shut his haters up. Not that I want Easy to shut Dracos up. I want him to shut his haters up because I don't like the amount of disrespect I'm seeing in his name. I want him to finish Dracos. And so at least, well, if he finishes Dracos, the title will still stay in Africa, but at least it's Nigeria at this point. So, what do you think?
Like I said, right, I have zero doubt on my mind that Easy is capable of getting that title back from Dracos. And for me, I feel like there are sometimes that certain things are written in your stars, right? You're destined to achieve certain things, right? And not because you are like the best in the world at that point in time, right? But situations come together to ensure that you actually achieve that particular thing at that time. So I feel like the stars aligned for Strickland, right? The stars also aligned for Triggers, right? However, it is time for the rightful king, right, to take back his rightful throne. That is what's going to happen. Style for style.
Yeah,
Um,
speaking about that, yeah, we've got Oluyinka Amole. Sorry, Imole is light in Yoruba, right? But what is Amole?
Amol. In Amole, it does not mean anything. It might mean Amole or something. Like
All
there are
right.
different implications here.
Yeah, so the easy fight is a do or die for him. He has lost a bit of relevance and needs to be back on top. Um, Easy is the biggest star in the UFC that is not Conor McGregor for the longest time. And that stardom or that position is being threatened by a certain guy called Sugar Sean O'Malley. So I understand what Oluyinka is talking about. Easy needs to come and solidify his position as the top star of the UFC that is not named Conor McGregor. I do, I do agree. I do agree with that. Um, Speaking about one Nigerian, this podcast is very Nigerian heavy. However, we started with a Ugandan. But let's talk about Kamaru Usman, right? 2 days ago was the anniversary of that Kamaru Usman beautiful straight right knockout of Jorge Masvidal. That was the first time the UFC had crowd post pandemic. Was an incredible event. I think my favorite pay per view of all time, including UFC 300. My favorite pay per view of all time was Usman Masvidal 2, UFC 264. I can't remember the number, but that was it. Was that main event? It was that card that had Tog Rose beating Weili Zhang with that head kick.
Oh,
We had
unforgettable moment.
we had that Justin Gaethje versus Chandler, I believe, on that card. We had Chris Weidman, I believe, that broke his leg or something. It was a crazy main card in the pay per view. Had loads of fun. I remember where I was. I remember what the air tasted like. I remember what I was drinking when when that fight happened. That knockout of Kamaru Usman. I don't think Kamaru Usman has a wallpaper picture perfect wallpaper photo that is worth that time when he knocked Masvidal and then went on top of the cage and was like, "Ah." It was something out of Wakanda, bro. That photo is
Totally.
incredible. That photo is incredible. It goes down to like the three kings of MMA, right? Israel Adesanya versus Kamaru Usman and Francis Ngannou. If you would pull out all of them, their best combat sports photo, it will be Usman on that cage. I understand that there's a picture of him when he punched Masvidal and the water in Masvidal's hair
Yeah,
was everywhere. That
exactly
was
what
nice.
I was just waiting for you. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
water, the
But
splash
to
was
me, it was Usman on that cage. That does a lot of things for me. Then it is easy when he knocked out Pereira and did that arrow thing, like and Pereira was on the floor. That's an incredible poster. And then Francis Ngannou when he knocked down Tyson Fury in boxing. That is
that
the
was a great
moment
one.
to me. I don't know about you. I know this is just out the top of my head. I'm not if you do you have any favorite pictures?
For me, anyways, I'm biased. Easy. The Pereira rivalry, the end of the Pereira rivalry is, is the big deal for me. But also for Francis, I think when he knocked out Stipe, it was a big one for me. Like seeing Francis beating the heavyweight goat. He's the goat. That's why we call him the goat. The
Yeah,
predator, the
yeah,
illegal play, the predator.
we've got Oluyinka here saying Francis uppercut against or over him too. I feel like
Yeah,
that
yeah, that
one
was cool.
is more impactful when you watch it as a video. You understand? That's where the story is. But I feel like Francis Ngannou with Tyson Fury, the story is the pound for pound,
Incredible, incredible,
the
actually.
number one lineal boxing champion in boxing, knocked down on the floor, Francis Ngannou dancing on top of him. That photo, what it
But then
represented at that time when it happened. I feel
he ended
like,
up not
I feel
winning the
like,
fight.
maybe like when we are old and your kids would ask you, what is this photo? What is this poster about? Then you would explain. This was an MMA fighter from the UFC. Tell them their story, and then this was him in his first boxing fight against a top heavyweight. This is what he did. You understand? That will resonate properly. But like, and then Easy and Pereira, there's also a story with that. It's like, why is he shooting at daddy or granddad? Why is he shooting an arrow at Pereira, at this guy lying on the floor? You'd be like, this moment, the world stopped because there was this rivalry that started from a different martial art and it ended here. You understand? And that Kamaru Usman own, there isn't too much story, but you can tell them like this night was when we saw people back in an arena after the pandemic. This was
Uh,
the main event. This was Kamaru Usman at his peak. This was
and
what
and you, and
you
you know
get. So
the backstory
I feel
behind
like
Masvidal.
those are milestone, not milestone. What's that thing that people put in books when they are reading book to? to continue reading from that part.
The
I
book
forgot
stopper.
what is.
The book
No, no, no.
stoppers.
It's not called a book stopper. There's a word for it where if you are reading, you put something to so and you come back, you can continue from the page. I forgot what it's called. So, so I feel like those pictures are moments in combat sports, most especially for us
They're
African fight
important
nerds.
milestone. I think
Yeah.
for Masvidal knockout, right? Something that makes it really relevant is Usman beats Masvidal in the first fight, but Masvidal was giving excuses. Oh, he came off the couch, short notice fight, and then Usman was thumping him and implementing his wrestling. That Usman was boring, blah 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 blah. He just gave excuses. I was like, okay, no problem, right? But this time it wasn't the wrestling, right? You claim to be a striker, and then a wrestler literally knocked you out.
You know,
You
y-
can't scream
yeah,
that.
I agree. But there's another one. But I feel like I don't want to. So you remember that picture of Easy standing in the middle of the octagon with Dracos when Dracos beat
And
Whitaker.
let's
So
not
wait,
do
wait.
that.
The reason why
I'm not
listen, that picture of Izzy and Dracos face to face in the cage.
good.
The reason why I'm not going to put that as like a momentous moment is because the story is not done yet. All these
Yeah.
pictures is about completed stories. Like
Hmm.
if
Back
you
to back.
bring if your grandkids ask you about the picture of Dracos and Izzy, it's a number one, it's an uncomfortable conversation to have with that kid because of the sensitivity of that moment. Number
That's
two, we have not seen the end of the story because these two people will certainly fight. So maybe we would get a picture from there. Maybe if Dracos knocks out Easy or if Easy knocks out Dracos.
yeah,
So
no, please, please. You have to apologize for that statement you just made. Because that is not
oh, we don't know. We don't know what's going to see at this point. As an MMA fight fan for and a soccer for African fighters, I my heart is already cold from all the disappointments I've seen. I'm not even going to go into that fight with like
an
sitting at
expectation.
well, obviously it's an edge sitter, but like I've already given up on like putting too much emotional investment in it because I don't want to I don't want to be disappointed. Bro, Kamaru Usman losing to Leon Edwards, I felt like somebody in my family died, bro. So I don't want to feel like that anymore.
And I remember the third fight, you were with me.
Oh yeah, yeah. We watched the third fight in your house, and bro, it was a
uh,
sad moment.
I really sad.
Um, yeah, we've got Olayinka back in the chat. He says, "Damn, Easy has some iconic moment. The Rocco
Silver.
stands with Silver is top
And
notch. I think that's the stance that he did this. Is that some anime stuff?
yeah, it's
I have no
anime.
idea. Yeah. Um. Yeah. So, what else do we have to talk about? We've gone through everything, guys. This is a very, very messed up episode of the African Fighters Podcast. We do apologize, sincerely apologize of all the technical difficulties we've had, which is by my part. I actually tripped on the Wi-Fi router is just under my leg here, and I kicked it, and the Wi-Fi went off. So I was even thinking that I would have to set up another stream. I didn't know that it was still on. So StreamYard is really good on that regard, I guess. Um, if you're in the chat, you want us to quickly talk about something, you could give us a shout. Kingdoms, you have anything for us to chat about?
Uh, Nothing but really. But what are your expectations, in for the rest of the year in terms of the trajectory of African fighters?
If we look at the whole thing, I feel like somebody that has lost a lot of buzz is Francis Ngannou, right? After he got suffered a knockout against Anthony Joshua, it's like the camera stopped shooting him.
Yeah,
Um,
but then people, I think there's something in the works against maybe him and Deontay Wilder or something. I don't know.
um, no, the Wilder will look good. I think maybe a Derek Chisora or maybe a Carlos Takam would do. But I believe he has already penciled down a fight with Pereira for a PFL pay per
Ferreira,
view in
Ryan
Saudi
Ferreira.
Arabia. No, 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 not Alex Pereira, the tall
Brian,
heavyweight from
Brian,
Brazil.
Brian Pereira.
Oh,
He
okay,
is
yeah.
not a Pereira. He is a
Oh,
Pereira.
he's a Ferreira. Gotcha.
Yeah, he's a
So,
Pereira. But
um,
really, bro, that guy is scary, and I don't wish Francis should fight him because I feel that fight is a high risk, low reward for him. How much does he?
I honestly did. I also don't want. You know when Ferreira was fighting, who was that Bellator heavyweight that they unified the heavyweight title with? I forgot his name.
What's his name? The guy
Yeah.
was in the
So,
UFC before. He even fought John Jones. He was a light heavyweight in the UFC actually. So he
mhm.
is a small heavyweight.
Yeah, so that was the guy that I wanted to beat Ferreira so Ngannou can avoid Ferreira because Ngannou like shines with like chubby, not very athletic fighters. But
Mm,
if Ngannou is going toe to toe with an equally athletic beast, you understand, in Ferreira, with how tall and the long reach and the power that Ferreira has, it's very scary.
it's crazy.
And another thing is the way Ngannou got knocked out, his chin, he's always been having a solid chin. I feel like it's going to be
You feel like the
it's
chin is
going to be
gone.
impacted. I don't know.
And then age is actually
We've
not
got to see.
on his side.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, he's
probably like
also what
37 thereabout.
I think he's like 38. So
Yeah, I think it's
uh
37,
Ngannou
38.
is
It's
38, I believe.
a
So
small
he's
boy.
almost 40. Yeah. That's why he's trying to cash out all he can cash out from the Saudis. Yeah, so that's one thing I'm looking
It's
forward
Tyler
to,
Black.
seeing where Ngannou's career is going to go. I'm really interested in seeing what's up for AJ as well. Is AJ going to fight Joseph Parker? Because AJ obviously cannot wait for um Tyson Fury and Usyk to do two matches because they've got to do a fight and then
That's
there's a
true.
rematch clause because they are unifying titles.
Yeah,
So
but then
that's
they're fighting this May. Is
they're
that not?
fighting next in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, in a couple.
Um.
Who do you think wins that fight?
I think.
Two, somebody's
I
O
th-
has to go because they're both undefeated.
yeah. I feel like. I feel like again as a casual, our memory is as good as the last fight we saw, and the way Fury looked like when he fought Ngannou wasn't good. The way the reputation or the encouragement you would have about Fury because he cancelled to fight due to injuries or a cut in the eye. That is making you question his determination to have this fight. We already know that Fury has been curving Usyk for the longest time. We know that Usyk is the person that wants the fight and Fury doesn't want it. So that alone, with all this someone is making me feel like Usyk is going to dance around Fury, even though Fury is very good on the feet. Um, Usyk is an incredible
Skill for
fighter, bro.
skill.
Like he's so good, so good. If he wasn't a fighter, he probably would be a Ukrainian dancer somewhere because of how good he is on his feet.
That guy is
Um.
something
So
else.
it might end up being a snooze fest, right? A 12-round boxing fight that will end up not being very nice, and then would have to sit down and watch another fight again when they do a rematch. Um, but everybody knows what the world wants to see. Everybody wants to see AJ versus Fury.
Mm,
So that's more interesting. Yeah, going back to your question, I would love to see the upward trajectory of Temba Gorimbo. Temba Gorimbo currently on a 2-fight win streak. He's fighting in the next couple of weeks. I just want Temba to win that fight in a very, very fantastic fashion. And then his career goes up and up to the main cards of pay-per-views. I would love to see that. I would love to see the comeback of Sadiq Yusuf
definitely.
after after his
Is
loss in UFC 300. I would love to see. I don't know. I would love to see something solid from PFL Africa, not just promises. I want to see something solid from PFL Africa. I would want to see the conversation of UFC Africa intensify. We would want to hear good information, not we are coming, we are coming, we are coming, just like Dana always says. So yeah, this year, last year was a heartbreak for me when it comes to African fighters, most especially in the UFC. I hope this year, I hope this year be fantastic, man. Yeah, looking up for
Well,
good things. Yeah. How about you?
uh, I just hope that this year is a good year, for our boys. Aside from MMA, in boxing, we have people like Ify Ajagba, right? I feel like that guy should be a world champion. Like, I don't understand the kind of belt that he currently has.
You boxing, bro, with like the 1 million, uh, like the 1 million belts organizations that they have. It's a very very difficult event, a very very difficult sport to keep track of. Like they've got so many weight classes as well, so many uh champions. They
I
have
don't
some
understand.
titles that are ridiculous to even talk about. Like I'm
Don't.
looking at Ife Ajagba here. He has the WBC silver heavy.
What
Silver
the hell is
heavy.
silver heavyweight?
What the fuck is a silver heavy? So basically, he's the assistant of gold. Oh man, boxing man.
That's like an assistant
Yes.
champion. I don't get it.
So
There's somebody I want
Efe
to see
Efe
come to the
Ajagba he's currently on a 5 fight win streak. Since he's lost to Frank Sanchez, he's been up and up. I remember Frank Sanchez was fighting in Saudi the other day, and I saw him take an L to Ajit Kabayel in Saudi Arabia. So that was the end of his undefeated streak. But yeah, Efe Ajagba still looks very good with his record. He is currently 20-1. One loss, obviously, to Frank Sanchez. So they are currently building him up, and yeah, the Ugeli boy. All right, guys, I think this is a good place to stop it. It has been a very, 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 very interesting conversation. We rambled mostly through, and not to forget to give a very, very big shout out to the newest dad in town, Christopher Graham. Christopher Graham, best wishes to you and your family, brother. Appreciate the support to the African fighters always. Guys, like and subscribe, do all the good things. Dems, you've got final words. Not that you are going to die, but do you have final words?
final words. Keep believing in yourself. Conceive, believe, and achieve.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I remain Aminu Jibril from the African Fighters, and that's Kingdoms from the Kingdoms podcast. Like, subscribe, do all the good things. We love. Bye.
Bye.
Wait. How do they do this thing? Here we go.